Ted Larson on YouTube said, I've seen some advertising for pure water purifying up to 1 parts per billion and then adding heat. What would be the positives and negatives of this? Well, funnily, you could say that because I actually have a Reach It workshop that I'm going to record on Monday, which I've written about parts per billion, but I'll give you a little bit of an insight into it. Ted, I think it's BS. That's the only way I could say it, probably simply. Boom. Hot water has got some advantages, so we could talk about that. If it's heated before it goes through the RO membrane, you can't overheat it. There's a limit how hot water can be through an RO membrane. But if you heat it, then you change the viscosity of the water to be thinner, so you can get more production. And also, hot water comes off the glass maybe better, because you've changed the surface tension of the water using heat. So there's some advantages of hot water which I think are realistic. But the argument about hot water, what do we wash our dishes in, is bullshit. It's not true, because when we wash our dishes with hot water, the reason we do it is because of oils and greases. And most of the time when we're cleaning windows, we're only dealing with dust and dirt. And then if there's something that's stuck on the glass like bee poo, paint overspray, artillery fungus, fly droppings, like all of those things are not going to come off because you've got hot water. They're going to come off from the agitation of the brush. So that's where you'd go towards something like a rocker to have better agitation, and hot water and cold water are going to, rinse exactly the same. So you kind of increase your costs of operation, but you don't increase your efficiency as a result of that operation, is what I would suggest. So I've never pursued the hot water area. I think it can make a very profitable sales line, for that. And equally for the parts per billion, the human eye can only see a spot, if all the minerals are white, down to 10 parts per million. So anything below 10 parts per million is an invisible spot, even if there is a spot. And therefore, the idea that you can go from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6 to 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 parts per million, and then we're talking about 0 parts per billion, which is 1,000 times more pure in theory, in a calculated sense. You can't measure parts per billion, you can only calculate parts per billion. So that's what I talk about in the Reach It workshop, which will come out maybe Tuesday next week, something like that. So yes, don't go down that route. Our job as window cleaners is to clean windows. And I know that people will say, if it's pure to the point of 0 parts per billion, it's more aggressive. I've done lots of tests on that, and the basic test is like you get your super ultra pure water and you just rinse an oxidized surface, catch the water, and if whatever came off, and then you compare that using tap water and say, was it aggressive in its own right, or is it just you're being told to believe it's aggressive, right? It's not, we're window cleaners. And
has it anything to do with what the human eye also can see?
Yeah, because it can't see below 10 parts per million. Yeah. So 5 parts per million it can't see, 2 parts per million it can't see, 1 part per, so what's the point of going to 0 parts per billion? 1,000 times less, like whatever. It doesn't make sense. We clean windows. And ultra pure water is normally used in laboratories, in the mixing of chemicals, so you get ultra pure water and then you put 1 drop in and it finds its way around. You don't even need to stir it. There's a particular quality of water. So, but what we're talking about is things that go into solution. There's another Reach It workshop on solution versus suspension. But we're window cleaners. We take dirt into suspension, like we stir it up, with the brush, and then we rinse it off at a flow rate of half a gallon a minute. We don't have a static tank, and none of it makes sense. All the PPB stuff is just marketing at best, to be the nicest person I am, or I can be, okay? So that's Ted answered, cracking through this.